Good morning, students. Today I, Padmaja Behera, has come with another video lecture of class 10, and this is the second book, that is the supplementary book, Footprints Without Feet, and the first chapter is Triumph of Surgery. Let's understand this particular title. Triumph means victory. Surgery means any surgical process. And let's begin with the theme. Every chapter, every story, or every movie that you see or watch or you read is based on a particular theme. And one theme that catches my attention is too much of anything is bad. Students, you can very well imagine too much of anything, anywhere is bad. Too much of salt, too much of sugar in a curry or coffee is bad. Similarly, too much of pampering by parents is also bad. The same thing has happened over here by the mistress of the dog named Tricky. Tricky is the main protagonist of this particular story, and his mistress name is Mrs. Pumphrey, and the narrator is a veterinary surgeon by the name Dr. Harriet. Now, let's begin this particular story. The story is about Tricky, who is a small dog, and he is pampered by her rich mistress named Mrs. Pumphrey. She loves her dog and is unable to refuse him anything. The pet dog is fond of eating everything, anything and everything, be it ice cream, cakes, chocolates, whatever you give him. The dog is so greedy enough that he has everything, and the mistress, staying alone, always pampers the dog. And the pet dog also has anything and everything. Now he has become bloated. Students, you can very well imagine, if we all also only eat and and don't do any kind of physical exercise, and there is no control in our diet, we also can become lazy and lethargic. Our parents also can feel the same, that maybe my child is ill, little knowing that the child has become ill due to overfeeding of unnecessary things. One day, the narrator, Dr. Harriet, sees the mistress and the dog when they were out for a walk. He finds the dog to be not to be able to take few steps. He's very weak. He's too lethargic. And the experienced doctor, realizes the problem. He understands that Mrs. Pumphrey is overfeeding Tricky and giving him food which is not advisable for Tricky. Tricky looks like a bloated sausage. Tricky falls ill and Dr. Harriet is called. Dr. Harriet suggests that he should be taken to the nursery for 15 days. As you know, the doctor was a very experienced doctor. He was very tactful, and Mrs. Pumphrey, even though was not willing to send Tricky, had to send, because she also was worried about the health condition of Tricky. Now, this doctor, through utter common sense, only knew that a change in diet can only bring about a change in the health condition of Tricky, and Tricky will be able to recover from the present health condition. Now, after spending few days in the surgery, Tricky was able to change, and and everybody was able to see the change in Tricky, and Tricky was able to recover from the health issues which he was suffering, like he was lazy, he was lethargic, he was not willing to do anything. The doctor, Harriet, did not put him on any kind of medicine because he knew very well that Tricky is not ill. Tricky is just being overfed. When Tricky recovered from his illness, Mrs. Pumphrey was very excited and happy after seeing the improvement and said that this is a triumph of surgery, which clearly meant that the treatment which was given to Tricky helped him recover from his illness and problems which he was suffering. Dr. Harriet was able to help Tricky as well as the mistress, Mrs. Pumphrey. Mrs. Pumphrey also was able to realize his mistake of overfeeding and pampering. Students, now you very well must have known that a dog is always active and happy in his own environment. He may take time to adjust in the new environment like we all do, but after some time we gradually adjust to the new environment. Same happened to Tricky. The mistress, though, was too worried about Tricky, but seeing the improvement, she was able to accept her her treatment that she was giving to Tricky. Tricky is a dog. He should be taken care of. He can never be a human being, and the diet of human beings are different as compared to the dogs or pets that we keep at home. Students, we all must know a great lesson that we learned today. What is that lesson? That too much of anything is bad, and we must always draw a line as to how much is too much. Now, and experience also counts. Suppose you may grow up to be a doctor or so, and you become experienced with time, and you can very well know the disease just by seeing the patient. Now, Tricky was very active and well behaved, and Tricky was responding to whatever the mistress, Mrs. Pumphrey, was saying. This definitely was a triumph of surgery, even though no medicines or no treatment was given to Tricky except for the exercise and the normal diet that he had in the surgery of the doctor, Dr. Harriet. This is, of course, a great lesson learned. Students, through any particular kind of chapter, we always get a nice lesson. Thank you, children.